Good morning, everybody. I'm Robert Scheer, and this is your 6 AM Wake Up. Marcus Aurelius, who was then the Roman Empire, kept extensive diaries. And those diaries actually made their way into a publication which is called Meditations. One of the entries in those diaries, Marcus Aurelius talked about getting up in the morning. In fact, he went on to a lengthy description of how tough it is to get up in the morning, how comfortable it is to stay in bed under the covers, and how he didn't want to always have to get up and face the day. While I never read the entire book, I've read excerpts from it and listened to excerpts from it. And this particular one I found really intriguing because it reminds me that we're all very much the same. That our concerns today about getting out of bed and facing the day were the very same concerns that Marcus Aurelius faced in 500 BC. And remember, he was the Roman Empire, head of pretty much all of the Western world at that time. So he was dealing with the same things we deal with, which is, I don't feel like getting up today. But more importantly, his journal entries in that book became the foundation for a philosophy called Stoicism. People that practice that are called Stoics, and in some ways they've gotten a bad rap. I think a lot of people think that Stoics means you're callous or unfeeling or uncaring or indifferent. It really isn't any of that. In fact, the first principle of Stoicism is essentially acceptance. It says that in order to be happy and to live a good life, you have to learn to accept what you can control and realize what you can't control. He goes on to talk about that you can control yourself, but you can't control other people. You can't control events. You can't control things. In fact, probably the only thing you can control are your own behaviors and your own attitudes. I bring this up because the 12 steps of recovery draw on a lot of classical information like the book Meditations from Marcus Aurelius, the Bible, the Quran, other kinds of documents throughout the ages. Some people think that the 12 steps were divinely inspired. I think they feel that way because they tried all kinds of things to stop using whatever substance they were addicted to, whether it was alcohol or gambling or drugs or overeating. And the only thing that ever worked for them was the 12-step program. And so they attribute some level of divinity to these 12 steps. The 12 steps are foundational, and the first step is that we admitted we were powerless over our addiction and our lives had become unmanageable. It's this powerlessness, this ability to accept what life deals you, is what Marcus Aurelius was talking about in 500 BC. And I'm not suggesting, as I've said before, that all of the listeners here have substance problems. That's not the case at all. In fact, very few percentage of people actually do. And so you can substitute other things, though, in your life. Powerlessness over controlling your children. Powerlessness over relationships in your marriage. The key to a lot of these kinds of things is acceptance, knowing when to have the courage to act on things and knowing when to accept them. This is an important concept, and I'd like to take just a minute to sort of cement this concept with a brief meditation. So, as we talked about previously, this is simply the practice of meditation. There's no right way to do it. We all do the best we can. So get comfortable. Take a second to just gaze softly and start to breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth very deeply. I would breathe in through the nose for 4 seconds, then hold it for 4 seconds, and then breathe out for 4 seconds and hold it. Let's repeat that. In, hold, out through the mouth, hold, and breathe in again. You can already start to feel the calming effect. Now, while you're continuing to breathe, think of a situation that is happening in your life, something that you are finding unmanageable and that you're powerless over. Maybe it's a colleague at work who is difficult. Maybe you have a chronic health issue. Maybe a family member, a son, a daughter, is in trouble and you feel powerless to help them. As you're breathing in and breathing out, think about those situations, and as you breathe out, let it go. Say to yourself that you can't control all of these situations and that you're going to let it go. Thanks for listening to my thoughts for the day.